Welcome to Scorched Earth. This is going to be a general reading for Scorpio, Sun, Moon or Ascendant for the month of June. You know the deal now. If you don't know what your Moon or Ascendant signs are, have a look in the description box. There's a link down there that will help you. And there's actually a ton of information in the description box, including all the different ways that you can contact me. I'm on a number of social media platforms now. I kind of come back to Twitter after not touching it for 5 years. So if that's your bag, come and join me over there and we can chat, all that sort of thing. Yeah, there's loads of information down there, so go and have a look. There will be an extended to this reading. The link will also be in the description box. And I'm trialling something new this month. In addition to the main monthly read and the mid-months, I'm also having a bash at shadow read. Now these are going to be, they're kind of rough and ready. And they are by definition going to be uncomfortable. They are things that you do not want to hear because it's all to do with your shadow. However, if self-improvement and all that kind of thing is your bag, then that's somewhere to look, right? Because I've got a theory, at least, that just as signs come in with their positive and negative attributes, so the signs as a collective are kind of born with a collective shadow, possibly, right? So I'm doing these. They're on YouTube. They'll be in a playlist. Give me some feedback, see what you think. If you like them, then I will look at kind of extending them and making them a little less rough and ready, a little less raw, and you know, more informative. I'll get more cards in longer, that sort of thing. Let me know what you think in the comments anyway. So anything to tell you? Doing a live stream on Saturday, which I believe is the 30th. Off the top of my head, I just dropped a card and completely lost it. It's disappeared. There it is. Yeah, so if you want to come and have a chat, that's the time to do it. I think that's just about covered everything. I hope you're well. Let's get you some cards. So, can I have 3 cards for Scorpio for June? Oh, we've got the Fool in reverse. 2 more cards for Scorpio, please. Oh. Okay, in your current energy, we've got the 4 of Pentacles. And you've got 2 for what's coming towards you. What is coming towards you? Oh, okay. We've got the Devil and the 8 of Swords. Okay. Having one of those months, Scorpio, I think. Right. At the bottom of the deck, we've got the 9 of Wands. And I'll come back to that because I feel like it will be more relevant later on than it is right now. Let's have a look at these cards here. Oh, we've got Judgment and the Page of Cups. That's interesting. There's the 4 of Pentacles here. King of Pentacles and the Knight of Cups. We'll see, I'm going to need to pull more cards for this. Tell me about the 8 of Swords and the Devil, please. Ooh, it drifted out. The Hermit and the 4 of Wands. Right. At the bottom of the deck, we've got the 10 of Wands. As I suspected, you're kind of struggling with things at the moment, Scorpio. Underneath the 10 of Wands, we've got the 5 of Pentacles. It talks about abandonment, feelings of isolation, being detached from the whole. And the 10 of Wands is that card of burden. It's a card of things being very, very difficult. Right. I just check which cards on it. Yeah, I'll just use those. So, as and when necessary, when I pull from the Rider-Waite. So, in your recent past, touching on future, we've got the Fool reversed. Now, this way up, it talks about a new start. It talks about losing baggage and moving forwards on a new cycle. It can talk about a certain level of spiritual openness as well, because on this Fool, we've got these lotus flowers at the bottom of the card. It's quite unusual to see those on anything other than the Ace of Cups. So already we're being put into a mind of there being an emotional new start. Yeah? The lotus actually sits on the water. But it's a light and airy card. right? It's that sloughing off of baggage and moving forwards with a skip in your step. And it does speak very strongly about trust as well, because the message of the Fool is, you know, you don't have to have everything planned out in front of you. You just trust that it's going to be okay. You know, trust that you're going to hit what you need to when you need to hit it. Now, this way round causes all sorts of issues, because obviously this is not a new start. It's a potential resistance to a new start. It's a potential blocking by external factors of a new start. And it's also quite a heavy energy, because where the Fool this way around is light, this way up, it's very dense, feels very dense. Now, what I find really interesting about this for you is that it's clarified by the Page of Cups, which is a light, you know, kind of watery card, and Judgment, which is pretty heavy, and a card that I associate with Scorpio pretty strongly. Now, if we just skip straight to Judgment, that's a card of looking back, right? It's a card of, sometimes it can be old situations that we thought that were dead and buried, just kind of coming back up, resurfacing. And it's interesting that there are, I think, currently 4 planets in retrograde: Jupiter, Venus, something else, and during June, Mercury is also going to go into retrograde. So this is a card of the past, the old things. And then we've got this here, which is kind of like small messages of love. Like sometimes it's an apology, but it's the very lowest step of the court hierarchy. And in this card, we notice that there's a couple at the bottom here, and this big creature here is kind of looking straight over the top of it. Okay? Kind of that. It's missing the people that are at its feet. And as they sit on my table, this character is looking directly at this host of angels right here. Okay? Let's get some more cards for this, because this is really, really interesting. It could well be that a new life that you thought that you were going to start, you know, a new cycle that you thought you were going to start, has in some way been blocked from you by external circumstances, and it's causing you to have to look at this flock of angels, at this old situation, right? But that's not a bad thing, because sometimes, you know, you go forwards by kind of looking backwards, reassessing, seeing things with new eyes. Tell me about this Page of Cups. Where's this Page of Cups? Whoa, fuck. I got 2 cards straight off the bat. So we've got the 10 of Cups and the 5 of Cups. Right? This is kind of what you're being asked to look back at. The 10 of Cups is complete emotional fulfillment, right? And then immediately halved by the 5 of Cups. There's something here that you're either blocking your progression, or you have blocked your progression to a 10 of Cups state by focusing too hard on what has gone before. Or you had that and then it went, and now you're kind of mourning over it, right? But whatever it is, you're holding on to it very tight, and it's stopping you from moving forwards. The thing is, because the Page of Cups was looking directly at this heavenly host, it's almost like you are being asked to look at this, right? Appreciate the fact that the new start that you were after isn't going to happen until you have done this, right? And this is your past energy, right? Recent past. There's some analysing of your situation that needs to be done here, and then analytical thinking is not something that is alien to Scorpio, but when it involves looking at things that are emotional, right, you're the deepest sign of the zodiac, you know, the one that displays the least and feels the most. Sometimes you shy away from that, right, because it's just too hard. Tell me about Judgment. Where's Judgment here? Where's Judgment here? Yeah, so we've got the 2 of Cups and the Page of Swords, right? The 2 of Cups is a relationship. It's a partnership of some description. That doesn't have to be romantic, but there's a lot of cups here, so think like it might be, right? But it's 2 people that are on the same page, right? Or maybe thought they were on the same page. at one point, but aren't anymore, right? And this Page of Swords, which is trying to move forwards with new ways of thinking about things, new ways of seeing the world, is looking back at this. And it's almost like he's been stopped as well, right? It feels like your attempt to make some sort of new start has just hit a brick wall, right? It's just got aborted straight off, and you don't know why. And there's a feeling of you wanting to move forwards but being pulled back time and time again. The thing is, when you pull back by something, and again, I'm going to point out that we're in, retrograde, and it's only going to get, more retrograde when Mercury starts doing it towards the end of June. It's because there are loose ends. It's because there are things that have not been properly tied up, that you're kind of being called to come back and look at. And somewhere there's a sense of grief and loss over something that needs to be considered. Now, what you've got in your current energy is the Four of Pentacles. And this again absolutely speaks to this, because the Four of Pentacles is about holding on to things too tightly. It's sometimes called the miser card. You can see it's kind of grasping hold of those pentacles there. And it could be money, possibly. But more often than that, I see it as resources. And your own energy is a resource that you hold, right? So is your time, so is your effort, so is all of these things. And I see this as a really beautifully simplistic way of demonstrating how to block the law of attraction for yourself. How to block this for yourself, right? Energy doesn't like to be trapped. It likes to be free flowing, right? And when you cling to something, it's because you fear, got the devil a bit further on, you fear that if you release it, it's not going to come back to you in any kind of meaningful sense, right? Sometimes we clamp down on things because the alternative, the possibility of being without this thing, is just so painful that we can't even turn and face that demon right now. What you're sitting in here is a very clamped down energy, right? The two cards that we've got to clarify, rather interestingly, are the King of Pentacles and the Knight of Cups. Now, there are a number of different ways of reading this. The King of Pentacles is the card of Taurus, but it could refer to any earth sign. Being as we've got Capricorn on the table with the devil as well, it's possible that it's an earth sign that you are really clinging to. That would be Taurus, Capricorn, or Virgo. And in this Knight of Cups, which usually indicates movement, right? That horse is kind of leaning. It wants to move, but the person on the back is kind of holding it still and is staring up at the sky. Okay? This King of Pentacles here has got a sack on his back and he's leaving. Now, they don't have to be an earth sign. It could just be somebody of earth sign characteristics. And, it could be in their chart somewhere. It could be their rising sign. It could be their moon sign, something like that. But there's a failure to move forwards because things are being held back again. Like we've got both of these characters trying to move off in this way. This one's being stopped by a small boy talking to him. This one's staring at the sky. You are clinging on to something. You are holding something. Tell me about this King of Pentacles. What is this King of Pentacles? Shit. We've got the Eight of Wands and the King and the Page of Pentacles now. Now, the Page of Pentacles is, for me, a card of knowing the value of something, right? This page is looking at it and he's staring at it like it's the most beautiful thing in the world. Now, it's also the student card. When we see this level of dedication to one thing, to one subject, right? It's a card of learning. Higher learning, potentially. But it can be a student of life as well. It can be somebody who's kind of gone through, a number of things, come out the other side and gone, actually, I know what's important now is this thing here. But interestingly, that it's a pentacle. We've got a pentacle here as well. And we've got all of these pentacles that are being held onto and not released in any way, right? And then we've got communication. Now, it could be that somebody's communicated to you their desire to leave, the desire to move on and do something new. Or it could be that you are waiting for news to come in of a new start, right? Because the eight of wands is communication, and it's incoming, right? It's not a two-way conversation. This is coming in to you, and in doing so, it kind of releases that Page of Pentacles. Fuck. There you are. The Death card is the card of Scorpio, also on a horse, but this time moving relentlessly forwards, right? Not held back in any way. Tell me about this. Yeah, we've got the Two of Wands and Temperance. Temperance is the card of Sagittarius. But my Two of Wands is my crossroads card, right? This feels like you are being held or holding yourself at a particular point, unable to move forwards, right? Everything's still very much in the planning stage. We've got all of this attempted movement, which is stopped in some way, right? And Temperance is the card of healing, right? It's almost like you're kind of stuck in a position right now, maybe at the whim of news that you're waiting to come in, and you're not able to move forwards in the way that you want. Now, yeah, because we go from the news coming in, the news that you're waiting for, to the new start, to this kind of, you know, transformation, relentless moving forwards, ending of cycles, but starting new ones, because they're kind of inherent within each other. But it feels almost like actually you can't even plan at the moment. That's what this is, because he's looking the other way, right? Everybody else is trying to move that way, he's looking that way. And then we have this one character is the first one that's kind of facing forwards, looking at us. It's not trying to go in any direction. It feels to me, Scorpio, very much like you have things in your emotional baggage that are holding you back energetically, right? And these may be taking the form of things that are occurring to you in your material life at the moment, right? You've got a lot of pentacle things. Maybe it feels like the world is throwing an awful lot of shit at you, but it is trying to get you to look back. It's trying to get you to tie up these loose ends that currently you're not acknowledging, right? Because you need to heal first. You need to balance yourself out before you go any further. And what's coming towards you in June is just more of the same, right? The Eight of Swords, for me, yeah, it's a card of self-sabotage, right? It's a card of feeling trapped. It's feeling like you can't go anywhere, do anything, right? You notice how all of these swords are kind of blocking the way. The crow itself is bound and it's got a blindfold on, right? Now, the thing about this is because swords are, you know, words and thoughts and communications and all that kind of thing, right? They're trapped around the bird. For me, it comes to mean self-sabotage because there is actually a gap in those swords for them to move out. They're not bound tightly. They're kind of keeping themselves there by choice, right? And they're doing that because they fear what they might see. You know, it's almost like better the devil you know than you don't, right? There's no stronger cage that we build to limit ourselves than the one that we create in our own mind. And this is where you are at right now, right? Because the Devil card talks about being stuck and bound and tethered to things, right? Out of fear in exactly the same way. When the truth of the matter is that you could slip those bonds if you allowed yourself to be the limitless being that you are. Yeah? Right, this devil is standing on a rock and it's sort of covered in blood or something, but the rock actually looks like a heart when it's there, right? So what you've got is this big nasty bird with its claws into its heart here, and this is you trying to escape here, right? To clarify, we've got the Hermit, right, and the Four of Wands. Now, the interesting thing is that both of these characters, as they're sat on my table, are looking towards all of this stuff here, all the past stuff, right? That is the most active card that you've had appear here, apart from death, apart from you, in the whole fucking reading. It's like gallivanting towards the Hermit, who is also looking towards all of this past stuff here, right? The Hermit tells us that all the answers that you need are actually within you. It doesn't really matter what is going on around you. What matters is your perspective. It's the way that you approach it. Sometimes it's about being still enough to let those answers kind of rise to the surface, because what is really abundantly clear in the rest of the reading is that there are old things that are keeping you stuck in your own mind, and it's time that you slough them off. It's time that you transform, right? Because you are now keeping yourself stuck, regardless of what's going on around you. You know, there's some quote that I'm trying to think of and it's not coming to mind about, I don't know, something to do with, you know, imagination being the key to keeping you free, even if you were stuck in a prison cell or something. It was something along those lines. Like, it's a really famous quote from somebody who was incarcerated for a long time. Might have been Nelson Mandela or something like that. I cannot remember. But the fact is, this is what we're talking about. And remember, you know, as above, so below, as within, so without. So if you are feeling trapped inside you, you know, by the contents of your own head, so what is going on around you is going to come to reflect that. Right. What about the Hermit? Yeah. What about the Hermit, please? Oh, that's interesting. We've got the Ace of Swords, and we've got this King of Pentacles has popped up again. Now, in addition to being an earth sign, we could be talking about somebody who is in charge, right? And usually when it's Pentacles, we're talking about business. So this could be a boss, something like that. But it could also speak of your ability to provide, you know? Provide for yourself and provide for your loved ones. It's about your duties and responsibilities, yeah? Maybe you're feeling so bound by those, or whatever's going on in your material circumstances, that it's actually making you struggle to see the truth of the matter, right? That this is all about your emotions, not about 3D things that are in front of you that you can, you know, touch and see and taste and hear, right? This is something altogether more internal. Tell me about the Four of Wands, please. Four of Wands here. If that's what I think it is, I'm just going to cackle. It is what I think it is. It's the Four of Wands, to clarify the Four of Wands. Right? And the Six of Cups dropped out there, which is another card of the past. Right? It's another card of things that have gone before. So, there's that movement, there's that Four of Wands. It's moving backwards. It's clarified by the Four of Wands. And this is my card of home, right? This is those people, those things that have felt like home in the past. Like, you have got unresolved issues from those that you need to go back and have a look at, right? It's in the past, you know? There might have been children involved, potentially. This might have been with a soulmate. It could be that you are feeling like you are really actually bound to a soulmate who is no longer in your environment, that you cannot let go, right? That's a possibility. I see that very strongly here. And in that case, that very much resides with you, right? The power to release that, the power to let it go, and the power to move on and, you know, actually start moving. That's the shadow card at the bottom of the clarifying deck now, right? But it's with King of Swords. Right? It's going to take a level of kind of objective looking at your emotional state, because I think when Scorpios get upset about things, they tend to lock it down in a box and they don't really consult with it that much. Like, this is asking you to go back into it and look at it objectively. Look at it with the level of detachment that maybe you haven't been experiencing. Like, see where you have been feeling trapped by old relationships and old, you know, potentially romantic entanglements, but certainly by old situations that were really, really important to you, right? That really fed into your foundation, right, as a home. And maybe this is childhood. I mean, that's possible. We can talk about that. Six of Cups and the Four of Wands together is my card of soulmates. And this is what's leaving you feeling trapped in June, right? Maybe they pop back up on your radar or something like that. But maybe it is really just that emotional feeling, right? So I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to do an extended. So if you want to check that out, the link will be in the description box. My God, my twins are messaging me on Discord. And that's what that beeping is. Both of them on their computers at once. If you're interested in the extended, there'll be a link down there in the description box. Don't forget about the shadow read, right? If you're interested in kind of probing around in the uncomfortable stuff, go and have a look at that. I'm going to put the video up at the end here so you can go and check it out and give me some feedback on it. Let me know if it resonates with you or anything like that, you know. Because what I want to get you doing is thinking about your internal space, right? And challenging bits of your internal space, right? In the hope that you kind of pull it into yourself. You take ownership of it rather than letting it have ownership of you and letting it kind of, you know, steer your ship without your conscious input to it. So I love you all. Take care, and I'll see you soon.